All right, I think we are live. Let me make sure. All right, I think we are live. We are. Let me make sure. Okay. We are live. And let me make sure that this is not okay. It's not private. All right, we're good. Sorry, y'all. I had to change. I don't know. Switcher's acting up, so I'm on StreamYard. So, let's get back to it. So, I am so sorry. We had a little flub here. Okay. Okay. So we should be able to scroll between the screens here. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to talk about, again, manicuring today. So let me start over with my whole little, presentation here because we got to record it. We got to make sure it's recorded. So manicures, you guys. Manicures is the most popular service out here, okay? Requested in the salon, all right? So whether the goal of the service is whether it's nail care, maintenance for your client, or a special treat, every client is going to deserve your undivided attention and care, okay? So while the manicure is the quintessential feel-good service, okay, it is also an important grooming service that we provide as nail technicians. So it's inevitable that some of your clients will be there. They may have a disability, they may not be able to see well, or invisibility. And because of this, it is vital that you follow the strictest level of care with infection control for all of your clients. So we will talk about infection control after this. All right. So let's look at this chapter carefully and take it to heart. All right. The manicure is a foundational service, and let's think about this, y'all. Manicures is something that you do with every single service. Okay. So we need to make sure that we perfect this service, you guys. So, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to explain why you should learn about manicuring. We're also going to list the services that are included in your scope of practice, okay, for nail technicians. And this is very important scope of practice. Some of you guys are doing things that you should not be doing. All right. We're going to talk about the different equipment needed to perform nail services and also list the types of multi-use and single-use implements that are in the nail service. All right. So we'll also describe the materials used during the nail service and also explain uses of professional nail products. Okay. Now, I am not going to demonstrate a manicure today. You guys are going to be doing your manicures as far as my students. You guys will be doing it in class. Okay. Let me let them know that the YouTube is back up. Okay. So, if you are on the YouTube, on TikTok, I just want you guys to be aware that my students get first priority as it pertains to the questions being asked. All right. So if you have any questions, you guys need to run over to the YouTube because that is where they will be answered if you have any questions. All right. And my YouTube is the same as my TikTok. All right. So we're also going to talk about men's manicuring. All right. Men's manicuring. Um, we'll briefly touch on it. Okay. As far as how it's done and the difference between it and a women's manicure, as well as massage techniques. We'll talk about those. This is a great state board review. Okay, so we will compare the process of spa manicures versus a basic manicure. And for my students, you guys, you have an assignment in your portal where you need to create a spa manicure. Okay, so we expect that to be done and ready by the time you guys come to class on Friday and Saturday. All right, so we'll also identify the benefits and infection control practices for paraffin wax treatments. You guys are going to be doing paraffin wax probably this weekend. I absolutely despise paraffin wax, but it is part of the curriculum and you guys have to, yeah, you have to do it. So hopefully you have fun with that. All right, and we'll talk about the approaches to personal manicures that are sensitive to clients with special health considerations. All right, so we're going to talk about all that today. Hopefully you guys are ready. All right, now let me move this out the way. There we go. All right, so we're going to let's see, let's move to this next one. So nail technicians need to have a thorough understanding of manicuring for several reasons. All right, so manicuring is, number one, the definition of manicuring. It is the art of caring and beautifying the hands and fingernails. Okay, so the reason why it's so important that you understand the process of manicuring, first of all, you guys got to do one at the state board. In order for you to get your license, you must perform a manicure the state board way. Okay, and so there's several different specific ways that needs to be done. Okay, up your own specific manicure. Okay, so the appearance of the nails and hands have become a visual benchmark, you guys, in our society, in the assessment of a person, whether it's social, both social and professionally. Okay, so people look at your hands. They definitely look at your hands if your hands aren't clean, if they're not manicured. People judge you, in other words. All right. So another thing about manicures is that fashion are continuously changing, y'all. Continuously. So nail professionals need to stay current. Y'all need to stay current in the new trends in the nail industry. You don't want to get left behind. So some clients also cannot, due to health reasons, maintain their own nails, and others actually prefer to have a knowledgeable professional perform this task for them. So me personally, I love when somebody else can do my manicure, but some people can't. They can't do their own, so they prefer to have a professional do it. Clients love the relaxation and pampering that comes with it as well. So manicures provide this, in this stressful world that we are in today. Okay. So let's talk about the services that are included in your state board's scope of practice for nail techs, because some of you guys are doing some stuff that is completely illegal, okay, that you are not allowed to do as it pertains to nail manicuring. Okay, so let's talk about it. So scope of practice. What is scope of practice? Does anybody know? Would anybody like to type in the chat what scope of practice is? What does that actually mean when we say that particular phrase, scope of practice? Let me get a little bit more comfortable here. What does that mean? Scope of practice. Does anybody want to enlighten me? Hello? Is anyone there? Hello, hello. Right, what you legally can do. It's not what you can do, but what you legally can do. Okay. So someone said it's what you're capable. So it's not even what you're capable of doing, because we're capable of doing a lot of things, but legally, okay, in your field. Yes, Kay Jones, absolutely. That is 100% what it is. All right. What we're legally allowed to do. So Scope of practice is a list of services that you are legally allowed to perform within your specialty in your state. Okay, in your state. So the scope of practice, it may or may not in your state, your scope of practice may or may not state those services that you can legally perform, and you've got to seek these out. Okay, so you need to check your online state board regularly to make sure that these things you're able to legally perform them. Now, ask them directly, because in some states you can do certain things that you can't do in other states. Okay, now we're in the state of Georgia, so Georgia specifically has certain scope of practice guidelines. Now, when you perform services outside of those regulations, it can result in the loss of your license. Okay. Now, some of you could care less about the loss of a license because you don't have one. Yeah. But for those of us that do, all right, because it's always going to be those people that say, I pull out ingrown toenails all the time. And that's probably because you're not worried about losing the license that you went to school for. Okay. Unfortunately, especially for those people that you're jacking their feet up. Now, always check. So wait, let's make sure we note this. All right. So if you are licensed in one state and move to another state, the scope of work for your license may change. All right. So always check every time you move, or if you move, to learn what the laws and regulations are for the state in which you live. Okay. Oops. Sorry. Went to the wrong slide. All right. You are liable for everything that you do, both professionally and personally. Okay. So for those of you that took my Nail Boss Blueprint course, you know that you have to have what's called liability insurance. And with liability insurance, obviously, this is insurance that will cover you if you are liable for doing something that hurts a client. Now, when you have a license, this is something you will want to have very much so. Okay. And at the end of the day, it's required. All right. Now here's the thing. When you have liability insurance, all right, it only covers what you are legally allowed to do. So if you're out here, even if you have insurance and you're licensed, if you're out here just willy-nilly cutting out people's ingrown toenails, which is something that you are not legally allowed to do as a nail technician, and you do have liability insurance, let's say someone sues you because you gave them an infection while you were cutting these ingrown toenails that you're not legally allowed to do, even though you are licensed. And and you go and call, State Farm, which is who I have, and say, hey, so I got someone that wants to sue me because I did something I wasn't supposed to do. Guess what? They are not going to cover you. They are not going to pay. You will be, as they say, up-ish creek without a paddle. Okay. So let's stick to what we are legally allowed to do in order to keep our licenses. Okay. So everybody got that? Moving right along. Okay. Now, let's talk about equipment needed to perform nail services. All right. If you have any questions, if you are on the TikTok, run on over to YouTube so you can check us out. Okay. Now, let's talk about equipment. What is equipment? So equipment is different from, say, your monomer and powder. Those are supplies. Okay. Equipment that you need to perform nail services. These are not implements. Okay. Equipment is, as a professional nail technician, first of all, it's important that you learn to work with the tools that are required to do nail services safely. All right. So, for instance, cleaning, disinfecting, all these safety things that you're supposed to do procedures, excuse me, that are stated in your state regulations. You must do them. Okay. Now, the 4 types of nail technology tools that you will incorporate into your services includes equipment, implements, materials, and professional nail products. Okay. So the first one, the most important one that we must have in order for us to do nails. Now, I say the most important one, but I've done nails in the back seat of a car. I've done nails sitting on the floor. I've done them in front of or at my kitchen table. Okay. Some of you guys are doing nails at your kitchen table. All right. But as a professional, when we move into the professional world, we need to have a manicure table. Okay. Now, this is usually going to include a drawer. All right. For storing properly cleaned and disinfected implements, and a shelf. All right. One or more, with or without doors. This is a very nice example of one here. Okay. For storing, and you need these drawers for storing professional products. All right. Now, let's be honest. You don't have to have something as nice as this. This table probably costs around $400 to $600. How do I know? Because I have 3 of them in my school. Okay. But the rest of the tables that the students use are simply IKEA tables with 4 legs on them. All right. The total for that table cost with the lamp probably $50. All right. So it's not necessary that you have this very, very expensive nail table here, but it is nice to have. Now, a table is usually going to be anywhere from 36 inches to 48 inches long, with a width of normally 16 inches. All right. You want to be able to reach your client 16 to 21 inches. All right. So if you're having one built, write that down. And the surface of the table must be cleaned and disinfected after every client. Okay. So it needs to have a surface that is hard and impenetrable. Okay. Such as glass or some type of a wooden surface that has an acrylic coating over it. Okay. And it needs to be kept clear of clutter. All right. So, meaning dust and dirt and things of that nature. All right. So let's talk about some other hold on, let me scroll up here, things that we need. Okay. When we are doing nails, you're going to probably need a lamp. All right. Let there be light. You need light in order to perform these services. All right. So an adjustable lamp is attached to the table, and it should use some type of bulb. Now, the book would tell you to use a 40 to 60 watt incandescent or fluorescent bulb. Me personally, when it comes to bulbs, I like to use bulbs that are daylight bulbs. Okay. Daylight, very bright white. So, for instance, if you can see me on the screen right now, hello, Christopher Mayberry. How are you? Welcome to our live. Okay. So, for instance, if you can see this, let me show you this real quick. So, this light that's in front of me right now, right? You see how bright it is? It's like this is what you would call daylight light. So it's going to show you my true skin tone, my true color. All right. But when we turn this knob this is that yellow light. All right. This is that yellow light. This is that what they call what is it on the bulb? Soft lighting. Okay. As you can see, I look like I look a little orange. And when you choose a bulb that is this color, you're not going to get the true color of your client's polish. When you go to take pictures, you're not going to get the true skin tone of your clients. Okay. So with that being said, go and get y'all a daylight light. Okay. Get a daylight light so that you can see the true colors of when you take your pictures and you're posting them on Instagram, that you get the authentic color of your, of your client's hands and nails when you do it. Okay. So moving right along, some other things that you need to make sure that you have when you how did I end up with this here? Some other things that you're going to need is chairs. Okay. Chairs. You need chairs for the nail technician and also for the client. Now, the nail technician chair, sorry, let me go back to my slides here so you guys can see. The nail technician chair should be selected for ergonomics. And what are ergonomics? Ergonomics is going to be for your comfort, to make it easier for you to do your job. All right. You need to find one that's durable, find one that's resistant to staining, and ease of cleaning. So when I first opened my salon, when I had my suite, I went to Home Goods and I went and got this beautiful white leather chair. Well, it was pleather. This beautiful white, because my look has always been a very clean. Well, my first salon was hot pink, black, and gold with cheetah print everywhere, but I digress. We've gotten past that. My current look of my salon and my school is a very clean, almost medical look. Okay. Everything is white with marble, grays, soft grays, the soft blue. So when I moved into my suite, I'll never forget, I went and got me this really nice pleather white chair, and it for my clients, and it had fur on the bottom of it. It was really cute. And the first client I took, I don't know what happened, but she must have been hot. Her ass must have been hot, because she stood up and she had on blue jeans, and my entire chair was stained. The fur was stained this blue color. Where her thighs were on the chair was stained blue. It ruined the chair. In other words, it was ruined. It was ruined. Okay. Don't try to be cute and go get you something that, that can't be cleaned. Okay. Listen, I'm just trying to help you out here. All right. So it needs to be resistant to staining, and also sanitizable and disinfectable as far as your chair is concerned. Now, the tech chair, meaning the nail technician's chair, should have wheels. All right. And these, you need to be able to move. Hydraulics, so that you can go up and down and adjust it, is very important. Okay. And the client's chair, it should be durable and comfortable, but select a chair that doesn't have arms, you guys, because arms on the side, meaning, all right. Or if you're going to pick a chair, make sure the arms are really low, right? So it can be moved close to the table. All right. This is going to allow the client's arms to rest on the nail table and prevent them from, getting laid. They then leaning all out to the side like this, and then they want to hand you don't give them any arms if you can help. All right. Make it so that the client has to stretch their arms forward. Okay. And rest their arms on the table. So this chair should also have a supportive back on it, so the client can sit comfortably and relax during the service. I mean, at most they can sit back, but it needs to be able to slide up underneath your table. So the client's chair should not, and this is just a suggestion, but it should not have wheels on it. Okay. To avoid all that movement and instability during your session. All right. Again, these are suggestions. This is not something that you have to do. It is a suggestion. Okay. Now, finger bowls. As you can see in the picture, it can be something as simple as a glass bowl used for soaking the client's fingers in warm water to soften the skin and the cuticle when you're doing a manicure. Okay. It can be made of anything, any type of metal, glass, plastic, or even a ceramic. All right. But the main thing about it is it needs to be durable and easy to clean and disinfect after each client. Okay. So important. Okay, you got to be cleaning this stuff. Now, moving to the next slide here. A disinfection container. Now, this one that's in the picture here, one is the type of container that is for personal use. Okay. Now, a disinfection container, it needs to be large enough to hold sufficient liquid disinfectant. Okay. So that you completely immerse several service sets of implements. Okay. And when we say completely immerse, one of the things I like to tell my students is you need to be able to baptize your implements completely. Baptize them. So nothing should be sticking out of the top. So no jars like this, right? Where your implement is sticking out of the top, like these pins are sticking out. So the part that needs to be the entire implement needs to be disinfected. So if something is sticking out at the top, obviously it's not getting disinfected. So everything needs to be baptized into that. All right. So containers that do not allow the implement to be completely submerged they are unacceptable for use. Okay. All disinfectant containers must be kept closed so that when you are not using them, it prevents contamination and also evaporation. All right. Because when we make our barbicide, which we'll talk about in the next chapter, barbicide, which I'm probably going to do tomorrow, you guys, because I'll do it tomorrow evening because the infection control chapter. But when you're mixing your barbicide, this stuff is good until it's dirty, until you can see visible dirt in it. So we don't want it to evaporate. Now, another thing that we need is a client's arm cushion. All right, client's arm cushion. So consider using an 8-inch to a 12-inch cushion that can be cleaned with soap and water. Now, I have two that I use. This is one that I use on to have my clients' elbows resting on it while I'm doing their service. And then I also have a round pillow that's over there on the floor for some reason. I guess I knocked it off my chair, off my table when I was getting ready. But it needs to be able to be cleaned with soap and water. Okay. And if you are using a pillow, make sure you're draping that pillow with something to keep the pillow from being soiled between clients, like a puppy pad or some type of towel or something. So your client can be comfortable during the service. I never forget one time I went to a nail salon to get my nails done, and they had my little bony elbows on the hard nail table, and that just was not comfortable. It was so uncomfortable during the service. Now it needs to be covered with a fresh, clean towel, like I said, or a puppy pad. Drape that with between each client. Make sure that you are still sanitizing and disinfecting that between each client. All right. Now, a foam cushion that is a service cushion, right? Something that, like I said, this. Let me just grab it so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. Because it did fall. Now this is This is the cushion that I was talking about. So this is just a round pillow from where did I get this from? Home Goods. Home Goods. All right. And I put that in between the arm cushion, elbow cushion, and then this they can rest their arms on while they're getting their service done. This provides, again, more comfort for both parties. All right. And the service cushion needs to, again, be covered by a fresh towel or a clean, fresh towel or a puppy pad, which I like to use puppy pads, you guys. I love to use puppy pads. Easy to throw away. You get a bunch of them. They're pretty cheap. Okay. Now, any questions so far? Any questions so far? All right. Here's a big one. Containers, okay? Trash can containers, all right? You must have covered trash cans in the salon. In the state of Georgia, in particular, I'm not sure about every other state, but in the state of Georgia, you must have trash cans, just like in the picture, that close, all right, with a self-closing lid next to your workstation, all right? These trash containers should have a liner in them with a disposable trash bag and closed when not in use. All right. Now, why do you think that it has to have a top on it? Does anybody know, or would anybody like to share with me why you think it should have a top on it or closed completely? Yes, Janice. So the smell. So usually there's an odor, okay, that is going to be coming from your trash can, and that's going to be usually from your paper towels when you're doing um your acrylic sets, right? The monomer and all that stuff, the smell can leak from there. And also so because there comes a lot of dust in that trash can from that, you're usually throwing that in there. You don't want to have that odor wafting around. All right. When I was in school, we used to have to use that. My teachers gave us Ziploc bags, and every time we did a set, because they didn't keep trash cans at every station because it was just a mess. I just recently took the trash cans from my students because they don't know how to empty them like they're supposed to. So I took them away. But they would give us Ziploc bags, and we would put our paper towels that were soaked in monomer in there and then zip it closed to keep the odor from wafting around the salon. All right. Now this is a state board rule. Okay. You must empty it every day. If you do not empty it, if you do not empty it and they come in your salon, it's a $50 fine per occurrence. All right. So, Kay Jones said containment. That's correct. That is correct. Christopher Mayberry, you are incorrect. So the gnats don't build up. That's incorrect. All right. So if you don't take that trash can out every night before you leave the salon, and they show up at your salon the next morning, and you have trash cans full of trash or chicken wings like my students left a couple of weeks ago in the trash cans, you will receive a state board fine of $50 per trash can. And when you have 25 of them in your salon, that can add up. All right. Now you're also, yes, chicken wings. Yes, ma'am. Chicken wings. No more parties for them. So you're also going to need cotton gauze. Okay, gauze or cotton wipes. All right. And they need to be in a container or in a drawer where it is closed. Right. Um, for services and for cleaning off your client's fingernails. All right. And this reason why it needs to be covered or closed is so that no dust and contaminants get in it. Supply trays hold nail products such as polishes, polish removers, creams, and stuff. When you're going to do a pedicure, those trays, you want to be able to have those for placing implements on, and they need to be cleaned and disinfected as well. Okay. Now, some other things that you're going to want to have in your nail salon is nail polish dryers. Now, this is the complete wrong picture. Shame on you, my lady. This is the wrong picture for this particular. This is not an electric nail polish dryer. Does anyone want to tell me what this is, though? What it is? It's not a nail polish dryer. This is a UV gel lamp. Okay. A nail polish dryer would be a fan. Okay. Of actual fan. Right. So that's a curing unit. Thank you, Kay Jones. You're absolutely correct. That is a curing unit. Okay. A UV gel curing unit to be exact. And the reason I know that is because the type of bulbs that are in it, it's not a gel LED lamp. It is a UV lamp. Yes, Jasmine, you are completely correct. All right. But I digress. They put the wrong picture here. A nail polish dryer is going to help shorten the time that the client's nail polish has to dry. But just so you guys know, nail polish takes 24 hours to completely dry, where it's completely dry. Now we have what is called touch dry, totally different. All right. But again, evaporation comes when it comes to nail polish comes from air. All right. So you'll want a fan. All right. Next slide. Now that's where that one should have been. You'll also want to have UV or LED lamps, okay, ultraviolet lamps or light emitting diode lamps. Although many clients do think of these as dryers, they are not drying. They are what is called curing. Okay. Gel polishes cure, they do not dry. And polishes that contain an ingredient sensitive to those UVA wavelengths in the bulbs is what causes it to cure. All right. So we will learn more about UV and LED gel very, very soon. All right. In our gel chapter. Hello, Liz. Okay. So moving right along. Now, this one is not required in every state. However, we have one in the school. Okay, this is called an autoclave. An autoclave, does anyone know what an autoclave is used for? Anyone know? An autoclave. And let's be clear here. These are very, very, very much confused with those UV light boxes. Okay. Very good, XCMR. XCMR, very good. That is absolutely right. Y'all use the proper term. It is not to disinfect tools, it is used to sterilize. Okay. So this is a device that is used to sterilize. And how does it sterilize? With high pressure steam. Steam under pressure. Okay. You've probably seen these particular devices in doctor's offices, dentist offices. Okay. High pressure. Very good, Kay Jones. Very excellent, Kay Jones. Okay. So it uses high temperature steam, and we're talking high temperature. So high, so much pressure that it kills microorganisms and the spores associated with them. Okay. So an autoclave continuously generates this steam and pressure until it reaches about 250 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty damn hot. Okay. And once it reaches that heat and those steam levels are reached, it must remain at that temperature and at that pressure point for at least 15 minutes to kill all harmful microorganisms and their spores. Okay. So check with your local state board to determine whether this is something that you must have in your state. In Georgia, it is not required. However, it is one of those things that we like to have. Now, here's something that I want to point out to you guys, okay? So I'm sure all of you have seen these packs right here, right? Now, this is very funny. For those of you that were in my classroom a couple weeks ago, I talked about how I acquired quite a bit of polishes and things from a local nail salon that was getting evicted. Okay. Good evening, Naya. And when they got evicted, there was tons of supplies that I ended up getting, like acetone, alcohol. And one of the things we got was about 100 boxes of these. Okay. These bags. And you guys have probably seen these bags before when you go to the nail salon. Now, these particular bags have a purpose. Okay. Does anybody know what these bags are for? When you see these bags, when you go into a nail salon and you see these bags, what do you automatically assume when you see it? When you see these implements inside of here? Because this is actually, and I kept it because I wanted to make sure, this is an actual bag that came from that acquisition of supplies from this evicted salon. Okay. So the only person that got this one right was that one nail studio on the live, right? So Jasmine said after sanitation. Okay, that's incorrect. The word that you're using is incorrect. So when you see this, you assume, because someone said they are sanitized for your cuticles. Someone said to sanitize, right? So the only people that got this correct was if you said that the implements inside this bag have been sterilized. Okay. So Kay Jones, you said you would hope that they have been through the sterilization process in an autoclave. Correct. Right? This packet, y'all think that you're just supposed to drop clean implements in here, and that's something that a lot of nail technicians do. And it is incorrect. You should not be doing that. The only thing that should be inside of this pack are metal implements that have gone through the sterilization process in this machine. Y'all see that on the screen? In that machine. Correct, Christy. These tools have been sterilized. So, how do you know that they have been sterilized? How will you know? Because you guys are going in these nail salons and you go and sit down, right? You go and sit down and they bring out one of these. They put it in front of you while you're getting your pedicure, right? And they open it up and they plot these tools, and you think these tools are clean, right? Of course, they're inside of this packet that you recognize from when you go into the dentist's office or something, right? Well, first of all, there's a couple of red flags that you need to be aware of that you'll know that it has not been sterilized. Number one, if you see a buffer in here or a wooden tool or anything that is not metal, okay, inside of here, and it is intact, it did not go through the sterilization process. Remember, the sterilization process in an autoclave, it has to go through 250 degrees of heat for up to 15 minutes. So if a buffer obviously would melt in the autoclave process or the sterilization process. Now, the other thing that you need to look for, and I always do, and they hate me. You guys can go down on my TikTok and actually see me doing a review video showing this. But anytime I go to a nail salon, I tell them, because they throw this away, and I'm like, no, let me see that. Let me see that, right? If you look at this closely, it says on the packet here, and I can't read backwards, so let me turn it around. It says, when steam sterilized, arrow turns brown. Okay. When ethylene oxide processed, arrow turns yellow. Now, ethylene oxide processing is not required in all autoclaves, but that's something that is, done in doctors' offices for sure, in hospitals. Okay. Now, if you look at this, there is a blue arrow and a red arrow here. Now, it said when steam sterilized, the arrows turn brown. Now, I'm going to point out something real quick. Y'all don't laugh, but does this say brown? Hold on, where is it? I'm sorry, but yeah, this ain't a professional pack, right? Like, I don't know where this came. This came from China. This came from China. It says, or maybe Somalia. Ooh, these people who made this pouch went to the Leering Center. The Leering Center in Minnesota. Anyway, we're going to ignore that. But if this had been through the sterilization process, these are Temu bags. These are Temu bags, y'all. Temu. All right. But had this been through the sterilization process, it would have turned brown. It would have turned boring, okay? Or brown, all right? So it is not brown, all right? It is blue and it is red. So this did not go through a sterilization process. However, inside this packet, and you would think that this is clean, okay? You would think that this is clean. Now, you're going to go check yours in the morning. Make sure it don't say boring. All right. Now, one thing I can tell you from looking at these implements inside of this packet is they've got crust on them. I can see a little bit. I know y'all probably can't see it, but there's a little crust on this implement right here. They just shoved it in here and said this is clean, and they're going to use it on us stupid Americans. But I digress. I'm not even going to, let me not go there. Okay. Because, we don't have this training. Now, another way you can tell if this has been through the disinfection process, Another way you can tell that this has been through the disinfection process is this is a paper bag. Had it been through the disinfection process, it would be, if you've ever seen one, and my students will get to see what an autoclave does, how it works, how to know if it's been sterilized. This thing would look like it done been through hell and back. It would be crumply. It would be all like wet because it gets wet. All right. It gets wet and this turns into like, it just looks bad. It looks like hell. Okay. So with that being said, y'all be smart. Make sure that you are looking for these things when you go to the nail salon. Okay, this should be brown. These should be brown. If it went through the, or excuse me, boring, it should be boring. If it went through the autoclave. This did not go through the autoclave. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, some people are just rinsing them off if you're lucky and throwing them in those bags. All right, let's move on because I could talk about sterilization all day long. Okay, and we don't have time for that. All right, now we are, so there's another picture of the autoclave. All right, now another thing that you may want to have in your nail salon is terry cloth mitts. These mitts are washable, okay, and they're placed over the client's hands and or feet after penetrating that, or after a penetrating conditioning product has been applied, such as paraffin wax or lotion. Okay, and so it helps it absorb, okay, into, sorry, let me put this on the screen. Put that on the screen. These washable mitts here. Okay, now Daisy Posty said, I just got my license. I want to start my own suite. Can I start a small business loan? That's wrong subject. Okay. Some states don't want you to use these packs if you're not using an autoclave. Absolutely. You should not be using these packs if they did not go through the autoclave. I feel like you are making, you are lying to your clients and everyone else. Okay. Gabby said, if I use heat sterilization, can I technically use those? What do you mean heat sterilization? There's only one way to use autoclave. To use those packs, and that's in an autoclave. Otherwise, you are, otherwise you are not doing it properly. Okay. Now, these mitts are routinely used over paraffin, like I said, and the heat that emits from them, it encourages the skin to penetrate the product. Okay, so keep that in mind. Not an autoclave, high temp, dry heat. Not recommended. And no, if you use high temp, dry heat, you're probably gonna catch it on fire. Okay, so don't use those. Don't use those under high temperature, dry heat. They're probably gonna melt. Okay. All right. Next slide. So paraffin, I hate paraffin, y'all, with a passion. Hate paraffin. It's a mess, but it is something that we go over in school, teach you guys how to use it. So a paraffin tub has an automatic thermostat that maintains the paraffin at an ideal temperature. Y'all don't go and buy you a crock pot and put a liner in it and put wax in there. You are going to burn your client's hands. You're going to burn them. Trust me, don't do it. Okay. Get a paraffin tub. They are on Amazon for $50. Okay. Me too, Nail Studio. I absolutely hate paraffin, but it is a nice upsell. So paraffin is applied to the skin to enhance moisture. It can be added to manicures and pedicures for an extra charge or included in an upscale service. Okay. But one thing about paraffin is that all states require that items like paraffin, meaning multi-use containers, be removed for single use in a manner that does not contaminate the remaining product. Let me say that again. When you are applying paraffin, in other words, you need to make sure you're taking the product out of the container and putting it into a container that makes it so that you do not contaminate the remaining product. So no dipping your hand directly in the paraffin. Okay. No dipping, no double dipping. All right. So you should never dip a client's hand or foot directly in the paraffin tub. Instead, you're going to use once the paraffin is at a safe temperature, because what we like to do is scoop it into another container. Okay, meaning a glove or a bowl or a disposable bowl, and place it or put it in a bag, a clear paraffin bag, and then place your client's hand or foot in it. Amber's Beauty Palace says, is temperature sterilizer okay to use? I don't know what a temperature sterilizer is. There's no such thing as a sterilizer unless it's an autoclave, point blank, period. Okay. It must be an autoclave. You can't convince me that it's sterilizing it if it's not an autoclave. Otherwise, you're cooking your implements, and you might as well put them in the stove if that's the case. Now, there's also additional methods of safety for safely incorporating paraffin into your services that we'll talk about a little later. Okay. So, but I despise paraffin. It's a mess. It gets everywhere. My students never fail. They spill it all over my carpet, and I hate it. Okay. Now, you may also want to have a ventilation system. Now, in this picture, this one is, I forget what this one's called. Avarex system. Okay. This one is very expensive. All right. This one, it literally has a tube that comes either over or sits beside you as you're working on the client, and it sucks up the dust and the odors and the smell. Proper ventilation should be used in a salon, right, to protect your nail technicians from becoming overexposed to vapors and dust. All right. You do not use fans or open windows and think that that is simply enough, okay? Because your dust and stuff is just going to be blowing around the room. And it just pushes the vapors down closer to the ground, where the clients and technicians are more likely to inhale them, okay? So another example is here we have what is this? A Valentino, okay? A Valentino system. These are known as local source capture ventilation systems. All right. And they're designed to capture the vapors, pull them down, remove them from the air before they even get a chance to escape into the salon. All right. So many of these local exhaust systems are mobile, which is great, and easily transported from one station to another. The only problem with these types of ventilation systems, like the Valentinos, is that you've got to buy these filters, and they are very expensive. Okay. A pack of 12 is like 52 to 60 something dollars. All right. And you need to change them out often. So some salons have tables with filters, and in order to improve the air quality, these filters need to be changed regularly, like I said. So it's best if the tables are vented to go towards the outside. Now, there are portable downdraft vent machines, all right, that are cheaper, that have little, you've probably seen these that have little bags attached to them. Those are kind of cool. Now, in some states like California, okay, California, they require you to have a ventilation system directly connected to your air conditioning system. And this can get quite expensive. We're talking 20 grand for a ventilation system. In order for you, so before you even open the salon, you need 20 grand just for the ventilation system. Now, that law may have changed, but I do recall that being the law several years ago. I haven't checked California and their laws in quite some time, because that's the last place I would want to live at this stage in my life. Okay. So keep that in mind. Check with your local state board to make sure that these things, that you're doing everything you're supposed to do, or you can end up having a huge fine. And last thing you want to do is open a salon in a state that requires you to have a rule like that. Chris says, I think Illinois has also adopted that rule. Yeah, it's expensive. So yeah, make sure you're checking your state board rules and regulations when it comes to that. Would not want to have to put out another 20 grand after I just spent, gobs of money on a salon to open it in the first place. Now, let's talk about multi-use and single-use implements used during nail services. Okay. So multi-use implements versus single-use. Anybody want to tell me what is the difference between the two? Multi-use single use? I'll give you a moment. Just a moment. Type fast, type fast, type fast. And I know I'm on a tiny bit of a lag over here on YouTube. So Sarah says anything you can clean and sanitize is multi-use. Single use is absolutely correct, Sarah. Single use is disposable. Multi-use can be sanitized and disinfected or sterilized. Very good, Sabrina. All right. Amber said you single use must be thrown away. Correct. Okay. So multi-use implements are generally stainless steel, as they must be properly cleaned and disinfected prior to use on another client. Okay. Kay Jones says multi-use is multiple uses. Single use is disposable. One-time use. Very correct. Single-use implements cannot be reused, must be thrown away after every single use. All right. So let me ask you a question then. Somebody give me an example of single-use implements that get reused all the damn time. And you little nasty asses are doing it. Yes. 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 SC Nail Tech, Chris said, buffers and files. Nail just said files. Amber said nail files, sanding bands, buffers. Yes. They get reused all the time. Okay. This is not okay. This is gross. Okay. This is gross. Kim said brushes. It depends on what type of brush you're talking about. Sanding bands. Yes, Jasmine. Yes. My students are on it. Okay. So you guys, these should not be reused after every client. You guys shouldn't be reusing the masks that you wear when you're, e-filing and stuff like that. All right. So let's talk about some multi-use before we move forward. All right. Some multi-use implements. Metal pushers. These are used to scrape the cuticle tissue from the natural nail plate. And metal pushers need to be stainless steel, y'all, and used carefully so that they won't damage the natural nail. Chris said the only files that are reusable have a metal center board. Absolutely. Absolutely. And if I had one in front of me, which I have one in front of me. Hold on, I have to dig it out. Y'all, I'm in my home studio and I have to remove some stuff. I'm here. Okay. And let's also throw in there. Sorry. Sorry, I'm in your face. Let's also throw in there, Chris, not just the metal ones, but also because we've got Tammy Taylor files that are also, they're plastic, so they can't be sterilized, but they can be sanitized and disinfected. Okay, so I'm out of my I don't use Tammy Taylor's files anymore, but these are the inner board, the plastic board that goes on hers. Yeah, I know, forgot about those. But here's my files, okay, which when I created them, I made sure they have a metal core here, okay, which can peel off. Okay, this peels, and then you can throw this away after every client. Okay, and Chris buys these often. These are my metal files. This peels away, and you can disinfect the metal core and just peel off the file. Okay, so with metal pushers, you guys got to be real careful. All right. And this is why they need to be clean. Some of the guys are pushing the client's cuticle all the way back to their sole and causing them to bleed, or causing nail matrix damage. All right. This can cause growth problems. So you want to be very careful with that. All right. Now, another thing that is multi-use is nail nippers. All right. Stainless steel. They should be, so that they can be easily disinfected. Now, the reason why we keep saying stainless steel, let's talk about it. Because stainless steel versus something that is, all right. So this is a great example inside of here. So stainless steel is silver, right? It's one, and it should say stainless steel on there, versus these gel removers that have this purple. Let me put this on the screen. This purple coat. Remove that. This purple coat on it here. That's not stainless steel. What's going to happen over time, if it's not stainless steel, when you're putting it in the barbicide, it will turn colors on you. It will, if it's not stainless steel, sometimes it tends to rust a little bit easier. Okay. Yes, stainless steel has a lower risk of rust and discoloration. Okay. So keep that in mind. Go ahead and invest in good stainless steel implements, you guys. Okay. Now, in order to keep those sharp edges on your nippers and things of that nature, you're going to want to make sure you're not leaving them in the barbicide too long either. Like you said, the deterioration is real. Okay. Now, the next thing that is sanitizable and disinfectable, tweezers. Okay. Tweezers. Let me get that off the screen. Tweezers. All right. Tweezers, you're going to use those to pick up small bits of debris off of the nail plate. Let's say after you've pushed the cuticle back, there's a piece that won't move, right? Or maybe even picking up nail art pieces and removing implements from disinfectant solutions, things like that. All right. They need to be properly cleaned and disinfected as well, you guys. All right. They must be stainless steel in order to be disinfected properly or sterilized properly after use. All right. Try to avoid those that have like coatings on them. All right. I know y'all want to buy gold implements and purple and rainbow and all that stuff. It's just not a good idea. Thank you so much for the gift, Laura. All right. Now, nail clippers. Nail clippers are used obviously to shorten the free edge quickly and efficiently. All right. If your client's nails are too long, clipping them will save time filing during your service. Now, here's something you guys need to consider. Okay. Nail clippers. This is what you need to consider. If you are purchasing implements, stop buying just one set. Okay. You need to have as many sets of implements that you as many sets as clients you do per day. Meaning, if you do 3 clients a day, buy 3 nail clippers, 3 nail nippers, 3 pushers. 3, get what I'm saying? Where I'm going with this? Why? Because it's a whole lot easier for you to pre-clean them, set them in your clean disinfectant container. Okay. Now this is a state board rule. All clean implements must be in a container that says clean and disinfected inside your drawers. Okay. Clean them, disinfect them, dry them, place them into your container for each client. And that way you don't have to take time in between each client to do the cleaning and disinfecting, which usually takes you 15 to 20 minutes to properly clean and then disinfect after each use. And then if you're using an autoclave, it's 25 minutes, depending on what type of autoclave you have, for the process to be completed. Make sure when you guys start buying your supplies. And Chris said, even get an extra pair for good measure. Very good advice. Always have a set of implements ready so your clients don't have to wait for the disinfection process and then running late and running behind. Okay. Keep that in mind. All right. Now, other single use, now let's talk about single use implements. Sorry. Brushes and applicators. So any brush or applicator that can't be properly cleaned and disinfected according to your state's regulations must be disposed after every use. And when we're talking about that, nail brushes are the exception. Okay. When we're talking about acrylic brushes. All right. Because, they are in an oxygen-free, water-free, we're talking about polished brushes, okay? Water-free liquid polish, all right? And the chemicals used in those polishes do not allow for growth of microbes, okay? Now, remember, Because someone will say, well, what if your client's fingers bleeding and you put it in on the client and then you put it back in the polish bottle? Well, you shouldn't be doing anything on working on a client that is actively bleeding or has an infection or anything at all, to be honest. So that shouldn't even be a question. Now, wooden pushers. Wooden pushers, they're used to remove dead cuticle tissue from the nail plate, just like your metal pushers, but these are so much easier. You don't have to worry about cleaning them, just throw them away after every use. All right. They're also great for, if they've got cotton, put a little cotton on the tip to remove polish off of the free edge, things of that nature. Chris says those liquids are harsh organic solvents. It can't grow in there. Okay. So keep that in mind. Also your acrylic brushes. All right. Now, so your wooden brushes and applicators, as far as applicators are concerned, that we're talking about applicators like the things that you are using to dip into product and then put it into a container or onto your hand and then throw that away. Things that are disposable. Those are things that are disposable. All right. And obviously, okay. Now, let's go back to nail brushes, because we obviously going to throw away gloves and things like that, right? But there's different types of brushes that have different uses. Hey, Jesse. It's important to note that natural hair nail brushes, they can't be cleaned or disinfected, and sometimes, depending on what you're using them for, they can be disposed after use. Meaning, if you are using a brush that is a natural hair brush to apply paraffin wax, right? It's got to be thrown away. You're rubbing that on people's skin. You cannot clean a natural hair brush. However, synthetic hair brushes, they can be cleaned and disinfected by immersion. So there is one exception to this rule, okay? And that is when you're using products that are not capable of harboring or supporting growth of pathogenic microbes, such as alcohol, nail polishes, monomers, polymers, UV gels, nail primers. Okay. Nothing can survive inside of these products. So a brush used to apply oil to the nail plate, or and this is one that you guys do all the time. I see it in the nail salons. It's gross. They have this oil. They dip the brush in there and then they slather it all over your finger and then they put it back in there. That is disgusting. It is contaminated. These products can become exposed to bacteria, and they do support bacterial growth. All right. So when you are applying cuticle oil should be coming from a drip dropper. Like bloop, bloop, bloop. Squeeze it on. Don't touch the client's fingers. If you are doing that, you're nasty. And I'm gonna call you out when I see you do it too. Okay? Don't do that. Everybody got that? All right. Everybody got that? So moving right along, because we're almost done here. I'm lying. We're not almost done. We got a little bit more. So let's talk about materials that we use during our nail services. All right. Materials that we use during nail services, obviously, are gloves and PPE, personal protective equipment. That's going to be your gloves, your dust mask. Okay. Make sure you're using high quality dust mask. This one in the picture, that one's a little bit merch. Okay. AB Schaefer said, do not touch the dropper to the skin. Absolutely. You are correct. So, make sure they fit properly. And, this is a little extreme, I think, but if you're trying to completely keep dust from going in your nose, this is what you got to use. All right. These are all disposable. Throw them away. Okay. Throw them away. And those N95s are not cheap. So I don't know about that. The regular ones are the ones I'm going to use. Okay. Amber said, I remember getting my nails done and the tech had the brush cuticle oil. Yep. Not supposed to do it. It is a violation. All right. Now, the next thing that we use, again, we talked about this, abrasive nail files and buffer cannot be cleaned, cannot be disinfected, definitely can't be sterilized. So we're going to throw them away after each use. Okay. Now, there's different grits, and we ain't talking about the ones you eat with eggs. Grits, they range from less than 100 in number to over 240 grit, and that is per centimeter. And so a rule of thumb to remember is that the lower the grit, the larger the abrasive particles on the file and the more aggressive its action is. Okay. So in other words, coarse grit abrasives or files and buffers, they're going to be 100 grit or less. That these are going to quickly reduce the surface of your acrylics and your gels and produce a deeper, more visible scratch mark on the nail. Okay. These should not be used on your client's natural nails. Okay. Should not be used on your client's natural nails. All right. Now medium grit abrasives, those are going to be files and buffers that are 150 to 180. And they're used usually to smooth and refine the surfaces and also to shorten and shape natural nails. Okay. Fine grit abrasives, though, these files and buffers, they usually are around 240 or higher. Okay. And they are designed for buffing, polishing, and removing very fine scratches. Okay. Now, Cynthia just asked me, do your students ever ask anything in your classes? I've never heard them ask anything. This must be your first day here. Also, I am at home. This is Sunday school. So there's no one here but me. And they are in the YouTube live asking tons of questions. But welcome, Cynthia. We're glad to have you. It must be your first day. So prep or edge your abrasive files before using them on a client to prevent cutting the client with the sharp edges. Okay. So what I mean by that, okay, okay, is you take your new file, and we call it seasoning. You take your old file or another file and season the edges here, okay, to make sure that they're not sharp so that when you are filing on your client's nail, it doesn't cut them, okay? Now, you can do the same thing with buffers, okay? Buffers need the same love, all right? If the edge is not removed on a new file, your client is going to be at risk for cuts. Okay. So you want to check those corners or buffers on your corners of the buffers and make sure that they are prepped. So, just check it. Cynthia said, it's not my first day. Well, then I don't know. I guess you've never stayed in long enough. We have over 24 students in our classes, but again, welcome back. Welcome back. I don't know how that is conducive to the lesson, but welcome back. You're always welcome. Okay. Next slide here. You can go over to the YouTube where everyone is. All right. Hey, Mara, there's my students there. Okay. Two-way buffer, three-way buffer. I hate these things. They're expensive. I don't see any reason to use them because they need to be disposed of and they cost way too much. These are single use. Okay. But these are great for natural nails. Okay. Natural nails. They give a high gloss shine with actually using a buffer or, without actually using a top coat. If you notice, there's usually like a rubbery side. Okay. That rubbery side is going to give you that really high shine. Okay. Again, these are single use, got to be thrown away, and they are pretty expensive. So get you something that's a little less expensive to use. All right. Now, just like a file, you guys, excessive pressure or buffing too long on the nail plate with abrasives that are too low in grit, they can generate heat and also cause pain on the client's nail bed, as well as remove too much of the nail plate, which can lead to onycholysis. All right, and possible infection. So you want to stay away from using low grit files or or coarse grit files on client's natural nail. All of my students will tell you that I instruct them not to use anything lower than 180 on the natural nail. Okay. Chris said some can be really sharp if they're firm. Yes, this is true. And try to use a lower speed when you're buffing, or raise the buffer from the surface between passes, meaning you're like so that you don't because you'll cause a lot of heat. Okay. All right. Single use or terry cloth towels, right? So towels are an example of materials that do not, sorry, let me move that next, that do not require disinfection in an actual disinfecting container, right? They need to be properly laundered. And what I mean by that is bleach. All right. So choose towels that can be bleached. All right. Cloth towels must be washed between each client. Y'all don't use the same towel on every client for the day. Okay. Get you lots and lots of towels. Lots, especially when you are doing pedicures, because you need 2 or 3 with each client. Amber asked a question about drill speed. We'll talk about that in the e-file chapter in a few weeks. Okay. I want to try to stay on task because this is on YouTube and this is for my students. I'm just allowing y'all to hang out. Okay. Now again, each client needs a fresh, clean terry cloth towel or a disposable paper towel after washing their hands. All right. Now, the best type of terry cloth towels for each personal use is going to be a white one. All right. I know you guys want to get pretty blue towels to match your aesthetic, and you want to get, black towels and blah, blah, blah. That's for them hairstylists, y'all. Let them hairstylists have those black towels because they don't necessarily have to bleach their towels after every time they use them. But when we're using this stuff on people's feet and their hands, we want to bleach them. All right. So, and also we want to make sure we have stuff to clean up spills and things like that. All right. Well, Chris said we supposed to be. Yeah. I don't know how with no black towels and they still black, but I digress. All right. So gauze and cotton balls. Okay. So me personally, I use lint-free wipes. I only use lint-free wipes. Okay, so let me show you what I have here. Okay, these are the medical ones or whatever. They also estheticians use these. Okay, they come in a square, but I cut them in half, and then I use this to remove polish. Right. Then you also have these little, and then I cut them in small squares too. And then also you can purchase these that come in this tiny little, they're like really, really small. Okay. I use these like to remove like maybe polish off of a nail brush or something like that, a detail brush. But outside of that, I do not use cotton balls unless I'm using regular polish. Let me say that again. Cotton balls are for use of removing regular polish. Why? Because the cotton ball will absorb the acetone, and you want to be able to put the acetone on the cotton ball, especially when your client had the polish on for weeks, so that it can sit on the nail for a second and kind of absorb into the polish, and then you can remove it. Those lint-free wipes don't hold as much product. Okay. And it makes it a little easier. And cotton is an enemy to all nail techs. The lint goes everywhere. Okay. Krista said those are mount blown wipes. I don't know what they're called. Here's what they come in. This brand right here, Intrinsics. Okay. And then I cut them into smaller squares. Okay. When it comes to so I don't know what they're technically called, but I guess. So get you some of those. They have those plastic backed ones. Those prevent overexposure to the actual product that is in the that you put into the cotton. But me personally, I just like to use the lint-free wipes. Okay. Next thing you'll want to have in your salon is plastic, wooden, or metal spatulas. All right. The wooden spatulas or wooden sticks. Okay. These are great to have when you're scooping stuff out because it's easy for you to throw away. If a plastic or metal spatula comes into contact with your client's skin, then it's going to have to be disinfected. So, and ain't nobody got to, I like to buy stuff I can throw away. Okay. Um, Disposing of these wooden spatulas when it comes in contact with your client's skin is a must. Reuse them. Never use the same spatula to remove unlike products from different containers. And then also, if you touch the client's skin with it, you can't go back in it. So no double dipping. Okay. No double dipping. We're almost done now. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about professional products. This is different from equipment. This is different from implements. Now we're getting into products. Okay. Anybody got any questions while we are here before I move forward? Okay. Any questions? All right. I'm assuming that's a no. All right. This is a good one. The type of soap that you use in the salon is important. I know you guys really, really want to use Bath and Body Works and go buy you some, special soap and all of that good stuff. But soap is important. The type of soap you use acts as an infection control tool during the pre-service hand washing procedure. Okay. And this mechanically, when you're washing your hands, removes microbes and debris. And like Chris said, this is a must. Okay. Soap is known to remove over 90% of pathogenic microbes from the hands if they are washed properly. Okay. So liquid soaps are recommended because bar soaps harbor bacteria and can become a breeding ground for pathogens. Okay. Meaning disease producing bacteria. So, the CDC, maybe you guys didn't know this. All right. But the CDC, or the Centers for Disease Control, states that it does not matter whether the soap or cleanser used in the salon is antibacterial or not. It will still remove microbes and debris. Okay. But repeated use of some antibacterial soaps can be drying for the skin. However, many clients feel more secure if they are using an antibacterial soap at the wash station. So, my advice to you is to use antibacterial soaps, liquid soap. Okay. Period. Okay. Now, TM said, do we call the Department of Health if we see that they never use a new file for each customer? Department of Health has nothing to do with salons. Okay. If you are concerned about a salon that you are going to that is not following infection control procedures, you go to the state board. Okay. Which Chris said here, contact the state board and report it if you feel it necessary. Okay. Me personally, I'm one of those people, I believe in karma. I prefer, because they know the rules, unless they are unlicensed, which is very, very, very common. I'll say it to them. Hey, you're not supposed to be doing that. That's a dirty file. Don't give me that dirty file. I got thrown out of a salon once, a local salon in Augusta, Georgia, in the mall. They put me out because I asked them for a new pumice stone because they were trying to use an old one on me. They threw me out. Because they thought I was the state board. Idiots. I told them I wasn't, and then they threw me out because I asked for a clean pumice stone. So, TM3 says not only files, they don't follow procedures across the board and only salon for 40 miles. Yeah, well, if you feel it necessary, call the state board. You can. Renee said, I finally touched down in Georgia this morning, 2 days to my test. Yes, congratulations. She'll be taking her state board, one of my online students. I'm so proud of you, girl. Kay Jones said, that's gross. Yep, that's what I thought too, but they put me out. I'll never forget it neither. Every time I walk by that salon now in the mall, I stand at the door and I act like I'm taking pictures because that's what the state board does. And they get all scared and stuff and start running to the back. It's hilarious. But anywho, that's when I'm in petty mode. You're also going to want polish removers. Okay. Acetone based polish removers work more quickly and is a better solvent than non-acetone based removers. However, non-acetone polish removers are great to use in nail school or at your state board because you don't want to dissolve the plastic tip that you use at your state board. Okay. But non-acetone removers, they will not dissolve your enhancements as quickly as acetone. Now they might if you let it sit for too long. All right. So they are preferred when removing nail polish from nail enhancements such as nail wraps because it might melt the glue and the powder that is used in nail wraps, meaning dip powders. All right. Now here's something you guys need to know, and I actually have it written on my sinks in my school because the next student that throws acetone down my sink, I'm going to have a complete fit. Not only because it melts my pipes, and I've had to replace 2 sinks in the past 5 years, but according to OSHA, you have to follow instructions for safely disposing of chemicals. They do not go down the sink. Do not pour them in the sink. Do not pour them in the toilet. You throw them on the ground or down outside drains, okay? Or pour them onto cotton balls and just, throw them in the toilet, right? So use acetone, alcohol, all of that stuff must be saved in a fire department approved metal container or disposed of as hazardous waste, or we're going to soak it up. If you don't want to do this, we're going to soak it up into a paper towel or a cotton ball, and we're going to throw it in the trash can, not in the sink. Okay? Period. Now, you're also going to want to have nail lotions and creams and oils. These soften the skin around the nail plate and use them for massage. Okay. Also, cuticle removers and colored polishes. Cuticle removers, obviously, they remove the cuticle. We put this on the nail plate so that the skin, the tissue can be removed easily and thoroughly from the nail plate. All right. It should not contact living skin. You don't need to. I see people put cuticle remover all over the skin. It's not going to kill you, but it is a irritant. Okay, so it goes on the nail plate where the cuticle resides. Okay, excessive exposure of cuticle remover can cause dryness to the skin as well as hangnails. Okay, so try to keep it on the nail plate. Different polish colors, enamels are applied to the natural nail. You'll want to have plenty of those. And thank goodness we have those at the school. Plenty, plenty, plenty. Okay. Also gel polishes, plenty of those. As far as that's a big complaint that a lot of customers have is that there's not enough choices of polish colors. All right. Hybrid gels are those polishes that are air dry, but they shine like gels. They are removed with acetone. They just call them hybrid gels. They're not gel. Okay. If it dries by air, it's not gel. All right. Base coats, top coats. Okay. Base coats, number 1. Base coats are important to use on on the natural nail plate. Okay. To keep your nails from staining. All right. These contain solvents that are designed to evaporate by air. All right. And they create like a double-sided sticky tape type of adhesion on the nail plate that keeps the polish from chipping. All right. So base coat is very important to have. A lot of people, especially regular people in the regular world that are not nail technicians, apply their polish directly to their nail plate and end up having yellowish colored nails because of the pigments that are in polish. Okay. Chris said, I'd be surprised if they could find a color you don't have or know how to achieve, period. Okay. You can also mix polish colors to achieve colors too. So base coat is a must. All right. Protein hardeners, that's a thing. I don't really use them. I tend to figure if you are having problems with your natural nails and they're not hard enough, this is something that is going to require, I will always suggest an enhancement of some sort. But if you are a diehard old natural girl, nail hardeners contain what's called methylene glycol, and this is an ingredient that kind of cross links between the keratin and makes the natural nail a little bit harder, stiffer, more resistant to bending and breaking. And again, this is something that natural nail girlies like to use. I personally am. If your nails are thin and they're breaking, we're gonna put a gel manicure, or we're gonna put acrylic on them. We're gonna do that. I'm not going through all that. It's just too much. Too much. Okay. Top coats. Top coats you're going to want to have to apply over your polish to prevent chipping and add shine. They also have top coats that are matte finishes. They have glow in the dark top coats. All right. These top coats contain ingredients that are going to create a hard, shiny film over the nail. And again, we're talking about regular polish here, not gel, that evaporates in the air and makes it so that you don't have to use a gel lamp. You're just going to air dry. All right. Solvent is the key ingredient in determining how quickly the polish dries. Okay, as well as the thickness of the product. So there are top coats that are called fast dry top coats. All right. And those have certain, again, solvents in them that make them dry a lot quicker. But just keep in mind, top coats need quite a bit of time to fully cure or dry by air. All right. Now, there's such thing as nail polish dryer products. These are designed to quickly help the drying process of nail polishes. Do they really work? Not really. Sometimes they're applied with a dropper, like you can drop it on there, or they're sprayed onto the nail polish to promote rapid drying. But honestly, again, nail polish takes up to 24 hours to completely dry. Now, remember this, that all base coats, top coats, and nail polishes are hardeners, and hardeners are highly flammable. Okay, keep that in mind. Highly flammable. So no smoking or none of that stuff around this stuff. We talked about hand creams and lotions already. Okay, moving right along because this is a long chapter. Okay, now let's talk about a basic manicure and some of the techniques. Now I'm not going to demonstrate it. Miss Shayla is going to do this in class for you guys. Okay. Chris said it makes like a hard cast on top, but underneath is still not cured. Absolutely. When it comes to those nail polish dryers. So Miss Shayla is going to demonstrate the basic manicure with you guys in class. All right. But let's look at some of the things that you need to know about a manicure. First of all, we have what is known as the 3-part procedure. Okay. You got your pre-service, your service procedure, and then your post-service. Thank you, Cheyenne. So your pre-service procedure, this is a procedure where you create an organized step-by-step plan for cleaning and disinfecting your tools, your implements, materials, setting up the basic manicure table, and meeting and escorting your client to your service area. Okay. Mara said, do I have to subscribe for class? You just got to go to YouTube if you want to watch the actual class. Okay, just like we did when you were in school. Now the service procedure. The service procedure is also an organized step-by-step plan for caring for your client. Step-by-step plan for accomplishing the service and as the client requested. So such as a manicure, pedicure, or nail tip. So that you actually do the service. And then the post-service procedure. This is going to be your step-by-step plan for caring for your client after the procedure has been completed. And it outlines how to help your client through the scheduling, the payment process of the salon, and provides information on how to prepare for the next client. Okay. So this is where you're basically going to clean up and charge your client, reschedule your client. Okay. Any questions about that? Now, before you do anything, The very first step of a manicure. Anybody want to tell me the very first step of a manicure? This is review for some of you. Very first step. Before you do anything, before you even touch your client. I'm going to give y'all a second. Thank you. Thank you, K. Jones. Wash your nasty hands, okay? Obviously, the consultation should have been done before you started the actual manicure, okay? And Maddie said, clean them fingers. Yes. Chris said, it better be to wash your hands. Not only do you wash your hands, your client's hands, but you wash your hands as well. So we're going to wash them nasty fingers, okay? So to prevent the spread of communicable diseases, okay, it's imperative to wash your hands before each client. Now, Spitfire said sanitize. Well, that's going to be, you have to wash before you clean, sanitize, then disinfect, okay? And then sterilize. Those are the steps to infection control. So first, wash the hands, and you're going to use a nail brush. Get in there good, okay? Very good, A.B. Schaefer. Wash the hand good up underneath the fingernails. Get you a nylon nail brush, okay? Now someone said the consultation, which that is correct, okay? But you definitely, before you even get into the consultation where you're touching the client, you want them to wash their hands, okay? Now, the manicure consultation is going to be next. Now, Chris pointed out something important. Hand your client that plastic manicure brush or that nylon manicure brush. Why is this important? Well, some of you, okay, now and let's think about this, okay? Let's think about the last time we were at a nail salon, and you know which ones I'm talking about, okay? The last time you went to a nail salon, you went to go wash your hands. Maybe you wanted to wash your hands. They didn't even tell you to, right? You go wash your hands, and then you see a bowl that looks like this. And it got blue water in it or something like that. And there's like 30 of those little manicure brushes in there. Let me ask you something. How many people do you think wash their hands with that very same manicure brush? Or one of the 10 that's in there? Everybody that came in there. And then they took that brush, and if they were nice, they rinsed it off, and then they put it right back in that semi-blue water. And the reason it's semi-blue is because it's been diluted. It's been diluted because people didn't, they just threw it back in there. Okay. Renee said too many. BB with the T said 1,000. I became victim to it in the dust brush. All right. Jamie said, give me a new one, not pre-used. Period. Maddie said, I wouldn't know why some shops even think that's smart. Well, here's the thing. Nobody's calling them out on it. It's also a state board violation. So what you should be doing is you should be cleaning those nylon brushes, disinfecting them, and put them in a clean container that states that they are clean and disinfected. All right. Not a small one like this one. That's bigger. Have you about 10, 15, 20 of them in there. And when your client shows up, hand them a clean brush, and you go over there and wash your hands too. Okay. Because what's the point of washing your hands if you don't wash yours? All right. So make sure that you keep your sanitized, disinfected, or sterilized implements away from that sink. Okay. Alicia says, I keep my own sanitized tool in my nail bag. Very good. Jamie said, I don't clean. I just buy the small ones and throw them away. They're so cheap, y'all. You can. Some of them are like literally 10 cents a piece. Implement that into your prices. Okay. Kay Jones says, this is one of my students over on YouTube. She said, nope, I have learned from you that poop is everywhere. No, thank you. There's doo-doo everywhere. Okay. Now, the manicure consultation, you're going to look over the forms closely that you had your clients fill out, or, which you should have client intake forms. and record your observations after the service as well as check your client's nails and skin to make sure that they're healthy. So when my client sits down, they've washed their hands. I usually have them, their hands are in mine, and I'm talking to them while I'm looking at their fingers and making sure that they are not bleeding, that they don't have anything that looks funky on their fingers, funguses or any broken skin. Okay, we also discuss the service, right? And then ask the client their preferred shape, color, length of nails. You must be careful, okay, not to discuss or diagnose any disease or disorder that you think that they may have, meaning no diagnosing. Hey, Bella Jade. Maddie said a bulk disposable manicure set is on Amazon for $50. Box has about 125 sets. Boom. Leah said, if they do have a fungus, what do you do? What is the answer to that, y'all? You have to refer them to a doctor or tell them they, if it's a greenies are a whole nother issue. Again, we'll get to that when we get to the nail disorders and diseases chapter. But I tend to turn people away when they have anything that is doesn't look normal. You can't service stuff like that. Okay. Right. So Renee said can't service. Maddie said refer only time you don't do the service. Correct. They need to go to a dermatologist or a doctor and ask your client to come back with a doctor's note. You guys got to get doctor's notes if y'all miss a day of work. If a client has something going on on their nails and you are a professional, if you point that out, a lot of times they're going to go to a doctor concerned or worried that they may have something going on. Okay. So ask for a doctor's note that says that it's safe to work on them. All right. Keep these following considerations in mind: the client's shape of their nails, their hands, length of their fingers, shape of the eponychium area, their hobbies, recreational activities, and types of work that they do. Okay. Because a client that comes in and because I've had clients come in, and this was particularly a younger young lady. She was a senior in high school. Her mom brought her to the school to get her nails done. And we asked her, what did she want? And she was like, I want extendos. And I looked at her, I said, absolutely not. And she was like, why? I said, do you know what extendos are? She had no idea that they were extra long nails. And the student was about to, do it on her. And I said, absolutely not. Your mama's not going to kill me. And she was like, well, I said, extendos are, like the entire nail tip plus some. She was like, oh, no. I said, well, why did you ask for extendo? Oh, one of my girlfriends said that's what I should get. And I'm recommend things that, and then she was a 17-year-old girl. She got no business with no extendos. I'm not doing extendos anyway on a 17-year-old, on anyone, let alone a 17-year-old. But that's my personal preference. But consultation is very, very important. Okay, very, very important. Now, here's some basic nail shapes, you guys. Please don't look at this and think, please. Okay, you got square, you got squoval, which is not a shape. Round and oval look the same on here, and then pointed or stiletto, which these shapes are awful on here. Okay. Alicia said, be careful of those clean, fast hand washers. Don't be afraid to send them back to the sink. Absolutely. Okay. Renee said, oh no, I'll keep my malong. I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know what a malong is. But these are just some basic shapes. Ignore those. Those are awful. And those are not no shapes that anybody would wear outside of square. Okay. Now, let's talk about the application process of polish. Okay. This is the polish application. Okay. First of all, we're going to suggest the nail color. The client will suggest a nail color. Okay. You came from TikTok, had to see the nail shapes. My lady tripping. My lady is tripping. Oh, medium long, malong. Oh, okay. I like that. That's cute. What soap do you like to use for them to wash? Just Dial, antibacterial, whatever it is. Not the hot Cheeto fingers. I like that. Yeah, TikTok. Oh, if you came from TikTok to see the nail shapes, there they go right there. They tripping for real. My lady is tripping. All right. So choosing a nail color. Now, if a client asks for your help when they're choosing a polish color, suggest the shade that complements their skin tone, right? We want to try to do that. But here's the thing. Lime green ain't never complimented nobody's skin tone. Okay. So I look at it like this. If you like it, I love it. Okay. If you like that color, just make sure that they're aware that once you put it on, it ain't coming off. I'm not doing a full polish and then you look at it and say, I don't like it. Well, you know what? After I put once I hit that you should have known you didn't like it after the third fingernail. Okay. Because if I am taking the time to polish your entire hand and I'm on the top coat and you decide you don't like it, no ma'am. Especially gel, because that means I have to file it off. Okay. And this is why you want to have good lighting. Okay. And place that client's hand in lighting so that they can see what that color looks like, because what they see in the bottle and what they see on their hands is two different things. All right. And putting it on a white towel under your true color light, meaning your daylight light, is going to show you the potential polish color over the skin. All right. Rather than holding it on top of the hand. So it's actually best to allow the clients to make the choice to ensure their satisfaction. Okay. You guys say, you guys are so funny. I had to switch over from TikTok. Had to move on over, Big Lish. Janelle said I switched too from TikTok. Y'all had to see, y'all messy. Y'all had to see them ugly shapes. Y'all didn't believe me. So always have a wide variety of polish colors available, including the appropriate colors for French polish and things like that. And they say appropriate colors. What is appropriate colors you guys are doing? I'm telling you, Milady really need to get it together when it comes to these slides. They are off. Okay. Now, the polish application, it is 4 coats. 4. Anybody know what the 4 coats are? Anybody want to tell me? 4 coats. Now, this is the general rule, okay? My school had us using pivot point. Pivot points are awful too. Okay. I mess with Miss Mary for real. Mary, thanks for your videos. You're welcome. Bella Jade. You too, girl. There you go, K Jones. Base coat, color times 2, top coat. Very good. Very, very good. Now, you guys, keep in mind. Awesome, Jai. You were correct. A.B. Schaefer, correct. Base 2 coats, poly. Yes, Big Lish, correct. Okay. So keep in mind that you guys, there are polishes out here that are supposed to be sheer. Please do not force them to not be sheer by applying 5 coats. Okay. There are sheer polishes out here, so don't do that. The application techniques, again, is for all polishes, base coats and top coats are the same. Okay. And that means for gel as well. So professional nail technicians practice what's known as the 3-stroke method. This is with regular polish, you guys. With gel, you might be stroking over and over and over and over again. Okay. But with regular polish, you got to remember it starts to dry immediately after you pull it out of the bottle. So you want to be quick. Okay. And so that 3-coat method, 3-stroke method is middle, side, side. Okay. Okay. So applying multiple layers of product is not it's not going to make your polish dry quicker. Okay. It's actually going to make it harder to dry. Filio. What are your thoughts on free forms versus tips? We'll get to that when we get to that particular chapter. Okay. I will answer all of those questions. I mean, I prefer forms. All right. But that's a whole nother chapter. We try to stick to the subject, which is manicuring at the moment, just to stay on task. I don't want to be derailing the class today because I'll talk for hours about that particular subject. All right. So you're building layer upon layer. This is going to help you improve the adhesion and staying power, okay? Thin, even coats for maximum smoothness and minimum drying time. No problem. We'll get to it. Don't worry, Philo. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and you will get a new chapter, sometimes 2 a week, okay? Nails should look smooth, evenly polished, and shiny. All right. So here's something that you guys maybe didn't know. Okay. Let me answer some of these questions here. Smile said, hi, how do I ask my nail tech to make my nails look flat instead of thick and bubbled when I use gel? If they're not doing that already, they probably don't know how, darling. Okay. Plandry said, I'm not a nail tech, but find this so informative. I'm glad to hear that. Now, you may have not known this, but did you know that when applying an iridescent or frosted polish, you must make sure the strokes are light and parallel to the sidewalls of the nail to avoid those shadow lines in the polish, okay? And this is with regular polish especially, because it starts to dry immediately. So you got to be really careful with it. And here's a tip, okay? Do not apply polish like right up on the cuticle area. All right. And the reason why you don't want to get too close, meaning right up on it, is that there's natural oils from your skin that can cause polish to lift. All right. Within a few days after the application, we're talking about regular polish here. All right. Because the polish is against the skin. So get as close as you can, but try not to get it too close. All right. You're welcome, Smile. Thank you so much. Chris said the more layers of that shadowing, it becomes more obvious. Very much so. I hate frosted polish. I am not a fan. Now I do like this frosted gel polish that well, damn, what is the name of the tickle just put out? You can draw in it and make designs because it's gel. You have time to work with it. All right. So any questions about polish application before we move on? We have a few more slides to go. All right. Let's talk about a men's manicure, y'all. Men's manicure. How do we approach it? All right. Now, men's nail shapes. Now, first of all, let me premise this by saying this is 2026 now. Okay. So this does not really apply because men nowadays, the men of today are not the men of yesterday. There are men now that wear nail polish. There are now out there that wear nails. There are men that want their nails to be shiny versus matte. Okay. So I want you guys to take this with a grain of salt. Okay. So men usually, and this is a big usually, okay, because Chris wears stiletto, 2-inch stiletto nails. Okay. But men usually, when they're getting manicures, prefer, I had to say it, Chris. You know, this is again, milady and outdated stuff. Men usually prefer their nails shorter than women do. And again, this is usually. So round nails, which are the closest to their natural nail appearance, are the most common choice for male clients. However, speak with your client to see what his preferences are. His, they, them, whatever. Okay. It's 2026, y'all. We got to be careful. We don't want to piss off the people that pay us. All right. So most times, unless the hands are in really poor shape, you can offer men a longer massage. They will appreciate that, especially if they're not getting polish, if they opt out of the polish service, right? Give them a little bit more attention in the manicure section. I mean, the massage section of their manicure. Okay. So this is a man right here. I'm assuming because I'm only assuming because it's in the male section, but men's massage and color selection. So always check with your client on the pressure and firmness of the massage. Okay. Remember that you are not licensed to perform deep tissue sports-like massages. Okay. When it comes to color selection, most, not all, most men prefer buffed nails, the clear gloss or polish, um, and enhancements. They may want polish, again, clear polish or something. Sometimes they want colored polish, but make sure to discuss these things during the client consultation. Don't assume that they don't want their nails polished. There's whole men out here, especially some celebrities, that have created polish lines. What's that one guy that was in that men's group that he just put out it's expensive too. Oh my God. And then that basketball player just put out a polish line. What's the one who has the son who is who transitioned? Basketball player. He put out a polish line. So y'all always ask, okay, if they want polish. Well, Sean Legend has a polish line, yes, but Marc Jacobs be having them long nails, yes. But I'm talking about the nail polish, the polish line. It's not gel. Dwayne Wade, yes, and Harry Styles, very correct. AB Schaefer said both of them. No, not Magic Johnson. It wasn't Magic Johnson. Well, it might have been Magic Johnson's son, but Dwayne Wade and then Harry Styles, they both put out polish lines. And they're very expensive. Okay. Sean Legend is actually a nail tech. So and he does wear polish from time to time, but it is Dwayne Wade. Yes, thank you, Christopher Mayberry. I appreciate that. All right. So there are men out here that, and again, it may not be my particular cup of tea for my man to wear polish. However, some men do want to wear polish, and that's completely fine. All right. One of those K-pop guys just put one out. They released one too. Girl, I don't know. I don't know nothing about the K-pop. That's not in my genre, me personally. All right. So let's talk about the next step of a manicure, which is going to be your massage techniques. Okay. Now, this one is very, 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 very important that you remember these terms because this is going to be on your state board, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. First of all, before you perform any massages, you need to have pre-massage considerations, meaning consult the client's consultation and intake form, because if they have some type of medical condition that is listed that may contraindicate a massage, you cannot do it. Okay. So if your client has not discussed massage with their physician, encourage them to do so, especially if they are elderly or have any medical conditions. A perfectly healthy person, they ain't got to do that. But if it's a person that has serious medical conditions, make sure they ask. For instance, clients who have high blood pressure, meaning hypertension, okay, diabetes, circulatory conditions, their physician has okayed them to have massage, then you can do it. But if they have uncontrolled hypertension, it's a no. And clients aren't going to just tell you this stuff without you asking. So you need to ask them in the consultation, do you have any medical conditions that I need to be aware of? If they have medical conditions that would contraindicate them, meaning they cannot have certain massages, they know this already. Okay. Now, you want to avoid performing vigorous or strong massages on clients that have arthritis. It's painful. They're probably going to tell you to stop. All right. So Maddie said, ooh, I would love it if you did a test video on them. Oh, girl, who's buying? Let me tell you, one of my students bought the Harry Styles polish line. 4 polishes was $125. It's a no for me. And they were regular. They were nothing special. They were like a white, a black. I was like, no, I'm not buying polish just because it's got your name on it. Don't talk to your clients during the massage except they ask. Talk to you, because getting them talking to your client while you're trying to relax, while they're trying to relax, they may not. Okay. And then when making a decision whether or not to perform a massage on a person who has a medical condition, be conservative. So when in doubt, what I mean, include the massage as part of your don't include the massage as part of your service if you have concerns of whether you should do it or not. Okay. Now, here's the names of the massages that you need to know. All right. And they have really weird spellings. And again, these are general movements of massage. And so the technical definition for massage means a series of movements performed that produce relaxing, a relaxation or treatment. Okay. Before I move forward, Christopher Mayberry says, if you have a frequent customer, should you keep asking if it is okay to massage them? No, if they're a frequent customer, you notice that they like the massage, you may not need to ask them every time, but I mean the general rule is to ask every time. Do you want the massage today? Are you okay with the massage? Always ask somebody if it's okay to touch them. You don't want to get into them type of problems, okay? I mean, but that's a great question. All right, so the first one, I'm gonna pronounce it for you. The main thing is that you know how to recognize it on paper when you get ready to do your state board. Okay. Very important. That's a good one. Cheyenne said, how's my pressure? Excellent question to ask the client. This first one, because you're never going to ask your client, would you like effleurage or petrissage today? Okay. This is something that you as a nail tech need to know for state board purposes and also, just as a knowledgeable nail tech. So effleurage, EFFLEURAGE. This is a succession of strokes in which the hands glide over an area of the body, meaning simply doing like this. I'm going to demonstrate. Do I have a fake hand? I have a fake hand somewhere. One moment. I do. I have a fake hand. Okay. Okay. This is my fake hand. Effleurage. Okay. Effleurage is when you are going to take the client's hand. Okay. Make sure you guys can see. And you are just going up and down, maybe the arm, straight up and down, straight up and down. Okay. No twisting, no moving, no bumping, no thumping, none of that. Okay. Effleurage. Just gliding over the area of the body. Okay. Straight up and down. When done on the back or on the arms, which we're going to focus on from the elbow down. Okay. You may just going straight up and down. Okay. Now, petrissage. All right. Now, here's the way that you can remember effleurage, right? And this is what I tell my students how they can remember effleurage, meaning straight up and down. Because you'll see this on state board. They'll be like, what is the massage technique, which is the hands gliding over a certain part of the body, blah, 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 right? You see those two F's in effleurage? They're right next to each other. In order to write an F, you need to write two straight lines, a line, right? They're right next to each other. So you've got these letters that require you to do straight down, two of them. So straight up and down, okay? Effleurage. Now, petrissage, PETRISSAGE, also known as kneading, lifting, squeezing, pressing the tissue. So when you think of kneading, think about when you're like trying to mix something, okay, or kneading bread. And the way I help my clients or students remember this one, you got S's in there, petrissage, right? So think of when you're doing a client's hand like so, right? Right? When you do it right, S, or maybe you're doing S's in the shape, or when you're massaging S shape on the hand, right? Petrissage, two S's, two thumbs with an S shape, one backwards, one forward. All right. So kneading, lifting, squeezing, pressing. There's two S's in pressing. There's two S's in petrissage. P and the two S's. This is the best way I can help you remember it. Okay. Now the next one is tapotement. Tapotement is a rapid tapping or striking motion of the hands against the skin. And so that's simply tapping. It says tapotement, tap. That one's easy. Tapotement. Okay. And tapotement might be something like taking your on the feet or the thighs, not the thighs. Please don't massage people's thighs. You're gonna get your ass in trouble. Okay. Tapotement is tapping. So you might be tapping on their calves. Thank you. Calves. Or maybe the bottom of their feet, right? Like this. Okay. Thank you. You guys saved me right there. No, no thighs. I meant calves. Thank you. Do not massage people's thighs. Okay. Tapotment. And then vibration. Okay. No happy endings. No happy endings here. Vibration. Okay. If any of you guys can vibrate, I'm gonna need you to come up. I'm gonna invite you onto the screen. But vibration is a massage technique usually done by some type of machine, but that's continuous trembling or shaking. All right. Now, you can't really do that with your hands, but you can do this next one, the last one, which is friction. Okay. Friction. Friction is strokes that manipulate or press one layer of tissue against or over another, meaning you may twist like this with two different directions. Also, you got the rug burn that we used to do when we were kids, right? That friction, you might be doing it on the legs and twisting in two different directions. Okay. So here's the thing: firm, gentle, slow, rhythmic motions in a predictable routine are the key to a relaxing massage, you guys. So moving quickly sends the message to a client that you are hurrying to get the massage over and do not care about providing a good service. Okay. So be careful when you're pressing the tissues and muscles. You can hurt somebody. All right. Remember that the purpose of this massage is to feel good. All right. So everybody got that, because those are very important and you've got to remember these for state board. Now, moving to the process of a spa manicure versus a regular manicure. Now, this is the thing you need to remember. Spa manicures are results oriented. Okay. Meaning you may do a spa manicure based on what the client needs. For instance, if it's a, paraffin wax spa manicure, you're adding that paraffin wax because the client maybe has super dry skin. All right. So these include added techniques or skin treatments, in other words. So they require more advanced techniques than basic manicures. Okay. And they can be more lucrative, meaning you can make more money with them than regular manicures. So they may include a relaxing massage or some type of exfoliation or polishing or smoothing of the skin, as well as penetrating professional products. Okay. So they're designed for relaxation and may be called something like a rose garden manicure, which might incorporate rose oils or products with rose petals for ambiance and stuff like that. And when I say results oriented, they're sometimes called treatment manicures. So they may have names that closely represent their purpose. For instance, an anti-aging manicure that it might include alpha hydroxy acid based product or something for exfoliation and skin rejuvenation. Okay. So some clients may ask for products that are chemical free. Some will insist on all natural products. So the salon must be able to provide those products to meet those requirements, and to describe the products and their benefits. So additional techniques can be added into these types of manicures, meaning you may have paraffin treatments, hand masks, a warm stone massage. Love those are my favorite. Or moist towel applications. Okay. So whenever you're performing any advanced procedures that include oils or cosmetics, always make sure that your client is not allergic. Okay. You say you're going to use rose oil, make sure that's clearly stated. Client might be allergic to rose oil. Okay. But always ask their preference when it comes to aromas and things of that nature. Okay. Now, another thing that we do with manicures are theme manicures. So a lot of these theme manicures are, some salons develop these based on the time of year, maybe a holiday, Valentine's Day theme, pumpkin spice manicure, pedicures in the fall that are pumpkin spice themed or Halloween themed or something like that. Some salons may even serve refreshments during that service that supports the theme. Maybe you have a margarita manicure, but let me just tell you guys, be very careful when you are serving alcohol, I do not recommend doing it in a salon. Okay? Very much so, taking a risk when you do that. So be careful. If you are going to do that, make sure you're serving people that are over 21, and also make sure that you're not over serving people, and make sure you're not breaking the law by charging people for alcohol. Okay? Because that's where it gets sticky and you start needing alcohol licenses and things of that nature. You got to include it in the price of the service. Okay? I'm not serving alcohol in my salon. Okay? I'm just not taking that risk. Okay? Any questions about that? All right. Now, the waterless manicure is a thing. Waterless manicures eliminate soaking the nails in water. They are great. Some clients, nail techs use lotion and heated mitts to soften the skin instead of soaking it in water. Sometimes it's more relaxing, gives better results than traditional water manicures. Okay. It's faster, more sanitary, more convenient. Okay. You've probably seen the manicures that they give now that you put your hands in these gloves and the gloves have holes in the tips type of deal. That's what happened last time I got a manicure. There was no water involved. And sometimes you may be in a position where maybe you're in a place where you're in a mobile situation where there's no water available. So it's great to have waterless manicures. And then you will, dry manicures are a thing too. Okay. Now, last few slides. We're down to our last 5 slides. All right. So paraffin wax. I'm going to talk about some of the benefits real quick, and then I'm going to leave this alone because I hate paraffin wax. Okay. It has its benefits, but infection control procedures must be followed. Okay. It is a petroleum-based product, and it's excellent for sealing moisture in, has barrier qualities. But the thing about it is it traps the moisture in the skin while it's on the skin. Okay. And once you slide that wax off, you've got this very soft skin, oily skin. But as soon as you wash your hands, as soon as they wash their hands, it's gone. Okay. So it's one of those things that, it's for the moment. For me, yes, Chris, it's a temporary effect. Okay. It feels really good. It's nice. It's warm. Put the mitts on. It's more, paraffin wax is more for the experience, not for a treatment. Okay. And just remember, make sure that you're being sanitary and not contaminating the paraffin wax. And for my students, you guys will get a demonstration on how to use paraffin wax in class. Okay. It may not be this week. It may be next week. Okay. Now, depending on what Miss Shayla wants to do. All right. Now, how do you apply it? There's several ways. There are, you want to be careful when you are applying it to clients with impaired circulation or skin irritation, such as cuts, burns, rashes, warts, eczema. Okay. Senior citizens with chronically ill or chronically ill clients are more sensitive to heat because of medications or thinning skin. So you got to make sure that you ask these clients that they have permission from their doctor before having a paraffin treatment. But the ways you apply it, there's the plastic bag application. You put about half a cup of paraffin wax in a thin plastic bag. Then you insert the client's hands into the bag. Move the wax around and the hand through the bag. Then there is the paper towel method or the cheesecloth method. We use paper towels. This is my favorite way to do it. So while you're wearing gloves, you're going to dip some paper towels into the wax or the cheesecloth into the wax, hold it by the corners, and then raise it up out of the paraffin wax, let it drip. Do this 2 or 3 times. And then what I normally do is have the client grab a paper towel in their hand. Then I have them also wrap one around their hand and then cover their hands with a plastic cover, plastic wrap, and then place their hands into a warm, moist towel or a heated mitt. Okay. This is the cheapest way to do it if you're using paper towels, less waste. Okay. And then also there's spray paraffin out there. Paraffin is sprayed on the hands with special equipment. You have to buy it this way, and it's placed in plastic mitts, plastic wrap, inserted into the moist towel or the electric mitts. Okay, this is a special type of paraffin you have to buy. And then there's one-time use gloves. Okay, we like to actually pour paraffin into a pair of gloves, put the client's hand in there, move it around, cover the hand with a warm towel or warm mitts. Pull it off, throw it away. And then there's the painted paraffin. This is the most wasteful and the most cleanup. Put it into a small bowl or a disposable bowl. And then you use a disposable brush it onto the hands, cover the client's hands with the plastic wrap or the heated mitt, and let it sit. Okay. Again, it is messy. It gets everywhere. You have to have an area where this paraffin wax sits all the time. You got to make sure you turn it on. You got to make sure you turn it off. It has to make sure you have to make sure it's on ahead of time so that it melts before the client gets there. It's a mess. I hate it. I would prefer to use the paraffin that comes in the gloves. Okay. Much easier to work with. Okay. And just remember this, when you are doing a manicure, if you're going to do paraffin, make sure you do it before a manicure, okay, so that you don't mess up the nails. This is also the misunderstanding about waxing for nail techs. Yeah, I think a lot of nail techs think they can wax because of paraffin wax. We use paraffin wax. Waxing is different, okay? If you do this before the manicure, it also allows the client to have their nails polished immediately at the end of the manicure service instead of worrying about messing up their nails after. Now, if you're doing gel, it doesn't matter when you do it. It is also a way, if you do it before the manicure, to soften the rough, callous skin. And the biggest disadvantage to performing paraffin wax before a service is that it cannot be used to hold moisture in the skin through its application over lotions and masks during the treatment section of the manicure. So you're not going to be able to do, you're not going to be able to penetrate the lotion and stuff because there's going to be this waxy film over the client's hand. So to me, it's just too much room for error here. Now, during a manicure, many salons and spas have developed manicures that include these treatments, such as paraffin wax, over a mask. That way you can perform the massage before polishing. Again, you've got to do these certain steps. It's just makes no sense to do it at all. Okay. So you can use paraffin as a standalone service. Many clients love paraffin treatments and they may just want it come in and just get the paraffin wax for the feel of it because it feels really, really good. So you can include this service on the menu at its own price, like $10 for paraffin wax. So, keep that in mind. Encourage your appointments, your clients to book this in advance though, so you make sure that you have the wax ready for them when they do come in. All right, these are the last 3 slides. Okay, so you've got clients that we'll talk about different approaches basically to personal manicures for sensitive clients with special health considerations, right? So during the consultation, you need to ask your client if there's anything, right, health concerns that you need to know about, right? But make sure that you assure your client that the information that they share is confidential and that you're not going to tell anyone about it. You just need to know so that you can provide the most effective service. Okay. Chris said, I'd rather invest in products first, hydration and moisture. Correct. I would too. That would be my preference. Now, here's some special considerations. All right. So tools and implements. When you're working on clients that are diabetic or have sensitivities, skin sensitivities, be very careful with sharp tools and implements. Okay. Definitely don't nip anything we know we're not supposed to be nipping the skin. All right. But if there is cuticle left on the skin, on the nail plate that you need to nip, be careful. Don't nip it with cuticle nippers. Maybe use a curette or a pusher to gently remove it off the skin because we don't want to cut these people. We want to be very careful not to injure them. Be sure that you're using fine abrasives on the nail instead of coarse because they, again, risk of cutting them. And use care when clipping the client's nails. Make sure look underneath, make sure their hyponychium is not sticking out. So that skin that sticks out from underneath it, if you make them bleed, especially clients that are on blood thinners and things like that. Just because you're on blood thinners doesn't mean you can't get a service done, but it does mean you got to be extra careful. Okay. With paraffin, some clients are sensitive to heat due to loss of sensation in their extremities. Maybe they do have a skin disorder like scleroderma, or maybe they have very thin skin because of their age, and what you think is hot might not, or not is cool, might be hot to them. All right, you may need to let the wax cool longer. With massage, always ask permission. Like Chris asked earlier, ask permission, especially with elderly clients. Some of them will be very, very, conservative when it comes to that kind of thing. If they're elderly or have any type of issues, use gentle pressure. And then don't bend or flex fingers or wrists that are of elderly clients that may or may not have, Alzheimer's, arthritis. Okay. So here's some examples of special considerations and how you're going to accommodate them, right? So limited mobility clients. So meaning clients that are on walkers or clients that use wheelchairs, or maybe they have a cane, move obstructions or tripping hazards. Okay. Clients who experience involuntary movements. Some clients maybe have Parkinson's, or maybe they shake a little. Roll up a hand towel and support their entire forearm from the elbow to the palm. Yapaholic said, she pointed out something, I'm not sure. I see your picture, your profile pic. She said some religions don't allow cuticle cutting. Well, all state boards don't allow cuticle cutting, so that should be out of the question anyway. But yes, you're correct. Now, clients with altered vision, you want to be clear, say if they're blind or say they can't see very well, be very clear and describe the color you're putting on them. And also, tell them everything you're doing. All right. Clients with painful joints, handle them gently, never apply pressure directly on the joints, and don't manipulate them during the massage portion of the service. Okay. So gently smooth the lotion on the client's skin. Always check throughout the service, make sure they're not in any pain, y'all. And then clients with caregivers, always make room for their caregivers. Okay. And accept any assistance that they want to give, because that's their job and they are there. It's not your job to be, you may be a CNA in your part-time job, but you're not a CNA when you're at that salon. So try not to be moving people, picking people up and things like that. If they have a caregiver, allow the caregiver to do that. Okay. And then clients with lowered immunity, meaning clients that are on chemo or clients with, HIV, things of that nature. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not turning away a client that has HIV. 9 times in there, 10 out of 10, they're not going to tell you they have it anyway. Okay. But you want to make sure that you follow strict infection control practices at all times, but especially with lowered immunity clients. Okay. State Board of Ohio requires cuticle cutting. Okay. So let's be clear, Yapaholics. Cuticle is different from PNF. Okay. Cuticle cutting, meaning removing the cuticle off of the nail plate, is perfectly fine. But all states, let me say this again, do not allow for cutting of the proximal nail fold. Okay, which is not cuticle. So you're correct. Cutting cuticle is perfectly fine. Cuticle is dead skin, but see, a lot of people don't even know what cuticle is. So I will, because you said state board, I will assume that you know what the proximal nail fold is and what you should cut and what you should not cut. Okay. So you're correct. Cuticle nipping is fine, but proximal nail fold nipping is not. And people do that. That's called a Russian manicures. Russian manicures are not legal in any state. Okay. PNF is living tissue it is out of our scope of practice. Absolutely correct. So you're right, Yapaholics, with cuticle cutting. PNF cutting is a no. All right. So that is the end of my TED Talk. That's it. So hopefully you guys got a healthy understanding of what is included in manicures. Okay, you know what a manicure is? Yeah, the Yapaholic said, "Oh yes, I'm licensed. Them Russian manicures just faux, fox, faux, whatever you want to call it. You cannot do them. So I know what you're saying. You're right. Cuticle cutting is fine, but yeah, PNF nipping is not. That includes pedicures and cutting too. Absolutely. I'm glad we got licensed people on this live. Now, you guys should know now. You should have a healthy understanding of what manicuring is and what it ain't. Where to find your state regulations for nail professionals, okay? And you know what your scope of practice is and the consequences of working outside of your scope of practice, okay? You guys should know what the tools that are used in nail services are and the differences between implements, equipment, materials, professional nail products, setting up your nail table properly, disinfecting it, okay? And the difference between single-use, multi-use implements. Okay, how to prevent infection and diseases in the salon, and how to properly clean and sanitize implements, tools, what an autoclave is and what it is not, what you should use as far as these packs are concerned, and how the red flags when you see them, materials that you use in nail services, as well as PPEs. Okay, basic manicuring techniques as far as four strokes and the three strokes, excuse me. We talked about nail shapes. We also talked about men's manicures, and the importance of hand washing. Okay, application of polish and how to perform the massages, how to spell them, how to recognize them for state board, and the differences between spa manicures and basic manicures and paraffin wax. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little class, this Sunday school. We will do infection control tomorrow evening. Okay, I will do that live tomorrow for those that can join. Okay, I will drop the time. The time is on my YouTube. It is incorrect. I will not be doing it tonight. It's supposed to be tomorrow. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. Let's see. Cheyenne said, "Thank you for being such an amazing educator." Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Chris and all them so-called techs who do Russian manis want to argue like nobody's business. I know they're awful. They will argue you down. Thank you, Cheyenne. You are so sweet. Thank you for the gifts. I'm going to go ahead and end this stream. You guys can watch the replay on YouTube. It will be available for a little while. Okay. Y'all have a wonderful night. I appreciate you. I got to call my boo. All right. Bye, y'all. Y'all have a great evening. Bye.